Hello, I'm Elliot. I am 16 years old. I'm from New Zealand, Aotearoa, and I make journal entries every day. Uh, Today was significant, important, because I explored this old railway with two of my close friends, Aiden and Jonah. Um, yeah, we spent pretty much the whole day on these old train tracks. We saw tunnels and crossed bridges, and it was fun. It was great. It's a nice, side quest adventure thing. It was great. It was a great day. And so I'm going to talk about that and some other stuff. Yeah. So, I woke up early. I set an alarm at 9 in the morning, and then I got out of bed. Um, I had breakfast and stuff and kind of just spent the morning waiting for my friends to arrive. And they did. I was kind of midway through playing the piano. They kind of arrived, and it was awkward at first. It normally always is when I haven't seen people in a while over the holidays or something. Um, and we were just planning where to start on these train tracks because we've been on them before. We've been on these train tracks. They're still used. I used to think they were abandoned. I've already talked about this. They're just not used very often. New Zealand public transport, or just like this sort of transport in general, trains, buses, they're not very common or amazing, right? Um, but yeah, we started from a region kind of close to where I live last time. Um, but this time we went further up north, um, sort of from an area called Weibai Station to Hoteo. Um, it was a solid maybe 20 kilometers, maybe 30, I'm not quite sure. Um, and yeah, once we decided where to start from, we started from further up north and went down south, uh, where the bridge and the large tunnel that we saw on Google Maps comes at the end of the track. After we decided, we hopped in the car and got driven to the starting point, hopped out, said goodbye, and started walking. It was, I mean, beautiful always. I'd recommend exploring train tracks. It's always fun, but the views are so much better than a lot of public walks, a lot of roads, because it's not really meant to be this walk. It's not, curated for people to go there and walk, this is your walking space. It's a genuine countryside area with, interesting, eventful places that haven't been planned out by other people. And part of that makes it so much more fun. I remember we were just walking. It was this valley, pine trees on either side for logging. They'd be made into wood eventually, but at that area it was just a pine forest. We walked for a bit, and there was this not old, it looked pretty new actually. There was a drainage system, one of those large round pipes with a metal cage on top. It went from one side of the rail down to a lake nearby, or a river. And you could go, I went inside of this small tube, only about as big as me, and you could crawl through and arrive inside the cage. The ground was non-existent. It was filled with water and covered in like water-growing plants. So I stood on top of a ladder in this mini cage thing, took a whole bunch of photos with friends. It was great. It was fun. A lot of the rivers were sort of flooded because last night there was a rainstorm. And because of that, we would see old electricity poles and fully intact, like regular trees just in the middle of lakes, in the middle of water. Dirty, like brown water, but still very beautiful. Um, yeah, we crossed several bridges, I think maybe like 6 of them at least. Um, one of which was so close to the water you could sit on a section that went off of the main section of the bridge. It sort of went down, and there was a second, some poles that went off from the lower parts of the bridge. You could sit on those poles and it would feel like you're directly on the water because they were touching the water. And yeah, it was cool. Obviously, I mean, the whole day was cool. We kept walking. We found an abandoned train station, very small, a small little shelter. It looked like a bus stop, but I think it would have been used back in the day for people who used the train as transport. Nowadays, I think it's just for moving materials, maybe wood, maybe coal, whatever trains move, right? And the whole place was just very rundown, covered in graffiti. It reeked like abandoned buildings. If you've ever explored a house or a building that's not in use anymore, you kind of get to know the smell of mold and dust and just broken down house. We took a photo of me doing like the Aang pose with the fists together because of my head. And then we kept walking. There was native bush, there were pine forests, there were fields. We saw a whole bunch of pheasants, some rosellas, I think, the rainbow birds, turkeys, sheep. And when we eventually reached this tunnel at the very end of the walk, it was way longer than the tunnel we had gone in before. It was 509 meters, half a kilometer. When you start walking through it, you know, the light dissipates really quickly, and in the middle it's almost pitch black, apart from the lights at either end of the tunnel. And there was a dead possum who had almost been mummified because nothing really gets into the tunnel. I mean, it's pitch black, there's little to no wind, animals don't live there, and its fur was gone, its organs were fully dried out or just removed, but its skin was intact, its bones were intact. It was really odd. It didn't look like regular roadkill, which is why it was so interesting. And then we sort of reached the other end of this tunnel after we had already, had hours of conversation and stuff. The weather was great because it wasn't that sunny. It was cloudy. It wasn't raining like yesterday. When I woke up, I was so happy because there wasn't any rain, and that meant my pals could come over. But it wasn't sunny either. If it's sunny, especially in New Zealand, you can get sunburn. You can get heat stroke, and it sucks. It sucks. It's not fun. It's not great, and that's normally why I get tired, why I stop going on walks like this, why I pause midway and I go, let's turn back. But because there was nothing, there was no rain, there were no clouds, we walked the whole distance, and we could have walked for several hours more. At the other end of this tunnel, there was a small bridge and one of those little outwards platforms from it, and we sat on this sort of plasticky platform and ate food, had drinks, listened to music. We listened to a lot of music on the way. I brought a mini speaker. We listened to TV Girl. We listened to the music I made. I make music that's bipolar, my album, and I made an EP recently called Experimental Garbage Can, both of which you can find on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you use. Not SoundCloud, because I'm not a SoundCloud rapper. I'd never stoop so low. No. Yeah, and we just ate food. We chatted. I had a can of tuna, but I didn't bring any utensils, so I just ate it with my hand, which was odd. Very oily, not great. Uh, there was a cool tree. I mean, there were lots of cool trees, but we sat by this one in somebody else's property. I mean, it was a giant farm. I don't think they would have noticed. And then we ran out, uh, kept going along the train tracks, eventually got to the main road in Hoteo, and my dad pulled up in his car, picked us up, and we went home. Woohoo! We all made Instagram posts. Just, I don't really make them for other people. It's just a great way to kind of remember the day. Just a couple of photos, sort of the best ones that we took, and we took a lot, um, with some music that's relevant to the day. You know, the sort of stuff we listen to. And as soon as we finished up with that, we went down to, there's this pub in the town I live in. We went down to it. My brother works there, and we got some drinks. They got, I think, a Coke and a Bundaberg. Not the ginger beer version, like a fruity one. And I went to order fries, and my brother was like, "Hey, put it on my tab." So we got a free basket of fries, and we all ate, and then Aiden's mum arrived. Jonah went with him, and I walked home, and that's where I am now. Um, I had a lot of time past then, but I didn't really do that much. I started watching, not started, I watched the first two episodes of Clarence, because I've seen a lot of videos on that show recently. It's a kid's show, it's for really young kids, but I used to think, like, I never watched it when I was younger, and I'm watching it now, and I go, oh, I know some of these songs. I'd hear them on my TV when I was younger, and I mean, the episodes, they were great. Very American, like you can tell. Um, but it's a good kids show. I like that it's imperfect. I like that the characters aren't all, in one style. They aren't all attractive, like as in the adults, they are ugly looking characters, and that's great. Um, and the themes are good too. I think it's a good show for kids. Um, I think a lot about what kind of shows I'd want my kid to watch if I ever had a kid. I think about, I mean, what can you do to raise a good kid? Because I feel like a lot of it can be the sort of stuff they watch, which is why I get so disappointed when I see parents giving their kids an iPad or free access to YouTube so young. Because as much as I think every person deserves, like, freedom and independence, especially at a young age, I feel like, when you're in such an early age of development, the shows and, the stuff you're absorbing is really important, and will impact you for the rest of your life. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Um, yeah, that's about it. Good night. Um, thanks for being here. I don't know. I don't think people stay this long very often. Um, but some of them do. Uh, there was a time when more people saw my videos, but I'm glad there are less people now. I don't know. I don't think it matters so much whether there are a lot of people or very few. It's just nice to talk about my day when I do it properly. Recently, I've just been talking for the sake of talking. Today was nice. A lot of the time when I end up talking like this, I'm not really lucid, I'm not really aware. I mean, I'm definitely conscious, I'm not falling asleep on the ground, but I just look at myself on my screen and I just talk, and I don't really notice what's going on around me. Like, I'm alive. That is crazy. Okay. Um, yeah, again, good night, or good morning, or good evening. Hello, fellows. Goodbye, people. Um, if you have time, write something about your day. I'd love to read it.